Welcome back to Our Pride by Mr. Gay Pride Australia. This episode, I caught up with the president of Hay Mardi Gras, who put on the amazing regional festival, Rainbow on the Plains, Will Miller, and we spoke through everything Rainbow on the Plains Festival. That Rainbow on the Plains Festival is happening so soon, and we will give you all the details of how you can get involved. Last year, the Mr. Gay Pride Australia final was at the Rainbow on the Plains Festival, and as the winner at Hay, got a very strong connection with the people of Hay and the Rainbow on the Plains Festival. It was great to catch up with Will, find out what's happening this year, and get a little more insight into the festival. Fam, I'm your host, Dion Alexander, Mr. Gay Pride Australia 2022, and you are listening to Our Pride by Mr. Gay Pride Australia. I am joined by who last year I rightfully gave the title of President of Making Shit Happen, for the Rainbow on the Plains Festival, Will Miller. Welcome, Will.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. We definitely loved going down to Hay last year. It was an experience for all of us, but I think we'll get onto that a little bit later. What I'd love to find out a little bit more, like I call you the president of making shit happen, because that's what happens in those sorts of events. Everything's going haywire and you've got to pull things out and, duct tape things and all that sort of stuff. But can you please tell the listeners and those that are sort of viewing on YouTube a little bit more about yourself and your involvement with the Rainbow on the Plains Festival?
Fantastic. Would love to, Dion. Thank you. So Will Miller, he, him, his. A proud Hay boy. I've been a Hay boy for a large majority of my life. I did go to the big city of Canberra for a little while just to develop a career for myself. But true to my soul, I had to come back to the country and live the true life that we get to live out here on the Hay Plains, which is a nice, chilled, easy lifestyle. Having said that, once a year we do have a big party that we celebrate for the only gays that are in the village. And luckily here in Hay we have a few, so we get to get together and have a big celebration and surround ourselves by an incredible amount of allies. So Hay boy. All my family still live here in Hay. A lot of my family are now my chosen family, which a lot of our listeners are probably can relate to. So, I have many aunties, uncles, mums, and dads here in this village, and this town is very dear to me. And it shows if you get a chance to come to our festival. It's pretty cool.
And it is an amazing festival, and I probably was surprised by how many people from our Rainbow community were present at the festival and how many allies you had when we were down there. What's your sort of official title so that we can get that right for you?
Excellent. So I guess it's the chair of the Hay Mardi Gras and president of the Rainbow on the Plains Festival.
Awesome. As the chair, you'll be able to tell me a story. I believe there's a cute little story behind how El Presidente, the Rainbow on the Plains Festival came to be what it is now.
It's fantastic. I love telling this story because I don't think any other festival gets the same background story that we're lucky enough to have. So as the Golden Girls will say, picture it. But picture it was 2018. The world was very innocent. There was no COVID. There was none of that around. And we had some beautiful local women who are all heterosexual, have children, have lives of their own, run businesses, work very hard. Loved watching the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras every year, and quite often headed up to Sydney to enjoy the celebrations of what the queer community offered during that time. And they decided, why don't we watch it back here in Hay and sort of book out the local club and get a projector and put it up on the wall. It's going to be really fancy. And it was a fantastic idea. And a couple of people heard about it and they said, well, let's do it, but let's dress up. Let's get all colourful. And then all of a sudden that was the idea. And then people said, well, if we're dressing up, why don't we do a little parade? And everyone's like, fantastic idea. And then if you're having a parade, you've got to have a fair day, right? So then there was this fair day. And then before you know it, all the TV networks, radio networks, international news media picked up on this little community out here in Hay. We're having this big Mardi Gras. And we're like, well, now we're going to have a big Mardi Gras. And from that, those poor women got themselves an extremely busy job for, I think they had 6 weeks to pull it off. And it was absolutely incredible. The people rolled into town and everyone got involved, and we blocked off the big highway that goes through our town and decorated every shop we could find, and it took over the place, and it was spectacular. So from a little idea of a projector on the wall with 5 girls having some bubbles to what became a very, very big and probably one of the first rural regional pride festivals. So yeah, it was a great idea at the start, but it's become this incredible beast, fantastically fabulous now.
I absolutely love that story. And I also love that it started with some allies to the community. So like it started with straight women that went to the Mardi Gras Festival in Sydney and like, we've got to do this for our community back home. And I think it just speaks of, and I want to ask a little bit later on just about how well your community supports each other, because it was one of the striking things when I was down there last year, and I was only there for a weekend. But I just think it speaks to how everyone in the Hay community doesn't want to leave anyone behind. And it's just an absolute beautiful story.
Thank you. Yeah, you're 100% right.
And you've spoken about now the festival's a bit bigger than Ben-Hur. It's a little bit bigger than, what was planned, the bubblies on a projector screen. Can you tell me and talk us through what's happening on the weekend for the Rainbow on the Plains Festival?
Absolutely, for sure. So it's extended out to now a 4-day event, which is fantastic. So that keeps me very busy. So on the Thursday night, we sort of have it's more pitched at the locals because, a lot of our visitors are still traveling out to Hay. So on the Friday night, we sort of have our probably one and only sort of experience at a real drag, cheesy pub scene show where we get a bit of drag bingo and trivia and all those fabulous things, and a lot of the locals come along and play some games and really get that comfort level up, ready for the festival weekend. Friday night, we're going to have an outdoor family-friendly event. So last year was the first year we did our Rainbow on the Greens, we called it. So we get an artist, and this year we've got the Rogue Traders. So Nat Bass and James Ash are going to head on out across the Hay Plains.
Awesome.
They've hired a little bitty man, and they're going to take the trick across. And then we also got some incredible drag artists coming from Melbourne and Newcastle. So and obviously we take every opportunity we can to educate the Hay community and those who attend. So we've worked very hard with our event coordinators, and we've made sure that we don't have just the drag queens this year. We definitely have more drag kings and non-binary drag artists. So that's just really broadened the understanding of the scene that we're trying to pitch to the Hay people, that it is very diverse. Then Saturday, we're going to block off that big highway again and decorate and paint the town rainbow and take over the streets and do a beautiful street parade. And we've got an incredible amount of entries this year. And I've got to see some of the floats, and I tell you what, they'll probably put World Pride to shame, because it's a big effort that they're doing. So I'm very excited. And many of our sponsors sort of really get on board, and they make it their Christmas party. So it becomes this big celebration down the street. We do have a fair day, and we've got a pretty cool local band who's going to do some incredible covers, and we've got the Youth Task Force. We really love working with the Youth Task Force of Hay. They use it for their yearly Youth Week event, so they're taking over half the park, and they've got all these incredible ideas and linking in with our festival. Saturday night, we've got the after party, so we've got the forever cool Zoe Badwe. Yeah, I know. So we just have to be as cool as Zoe, so she'll want to come back, because Zoe Badwe's going to back to Hay, and we'll find a van to pick her up from the airport and bring her across the plains as well. And then so Saturday nights where sort of all the adults get together and we take over the whole venue. We have the venue exclusive to ourselves, and everyone gets an opportunity just to really get to sit down and chat or have a dance or get to know each other and make those lifelong friends that I know I've had the opportunity to make every year. And then Sunday, when we're all feeling sad and sorry for ourselves and our feet are swollen, our heads are hurting, we hand it over to the Women's AFL, who are a local netball team, but for that weekend they play Women's AFL, and we call that the Pride Cup. So another regional town, they come on over, and they pick the footy around, and we all sit there, cheer, and have a great time, and sort of enjoy sitting with our friends and watching the women play really hard. They play hardcore.
They do.
And that's a big weekend. That's enough for this year. But, it's a pretty cool weekend. So we try to give the opportunity to all businesses around town. So we spread all the events out, and we make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to attend something. So a few of our events are free. We have a family friendly. We have adults only. So we try to tick all those boxes to make sure we are as inclusive as this community is to us.
And I absolutely love that. And unfortunately, I'm probably going to use a cliche, but there is something for everyone along the way. And like just the amount of people that you get involved, the amount of the community that becomes involved. This really is just, you see the whole spectrum of Hay on display, and I think it's just absolutely fabulous, the way that you do it, and the way that everyone gets behind the festival, which is fabulous. I hear that, someone's up. Nat Bass needs a makeup artist. Is that correct? Are we?
Yeah. So we definitely are on the edge knife of responding to all unique requests, and we're just so excited that that we get the opportunity to bring these big artists out here. But obviously, it's a long drive for Nat across those Hay Plains, and Nat obviously wants to look her best for our festival, which is fantastic. So we've had to use some of our drag performers to use their other skills as makeup artists and hair stylists, which is fantastic. So no doubt Nat is going to look the best she's ever looked, because it's been done in a local club's gym. That hey, we'll get through it, and it'll be fantastically fabulous. So
I can't wait to see Nat's look. That's going to be great. I reckon, as you said, Will, that's going to be the most fabulous she's ever looked.
Absolutely, we'll do everything.
So action-packed 4 days. There's obviously an event that probably, I know you're going to say they all mean the world to you. They're all important to you. But is there a favourite event on the calendar for you? Is there one that maybe means a little bit more for you than some of the others?
Yeah, I think so. So it's definitely, as weird as it is, it's the street parade. It's the parade where you don't have to attend to be present. You sort of can be just happen to be down the street at the time it went past, and you sort of did a smile and a wave. So it doesn't single anyone out, or it doesn't show that someone's, oh, you went to the event. Why'd you go to the event? Oh no, I was just down the street. So it's that opportunity for us to be heard and seen. We have those incredible Dykes on Bikes from Melbourne and Sydney who come over each year. They let everyone know that we're here. They sort of get everyone's attention for us. But yeah, it's that opportunity. So we've got the youth of Hay. We have the senior citizens who quite often live and stay in their hostel. They all pile into their little van and they go down the street and they're waving and cheering to all the people who line our streets. And easy, I reckon there's 1,500 to 2,000 people down that main street. The other benefit of that is, all those people are buying a drink or supporting our local shops, or meeting new people, and then everyone walks on over to the park. So it's definitely the street parade. It's that big buy-in that everyone can buy in without being obvious that they're present, and get that little bit of exposure and understanding, and see the diversity that our queer community is, and it's very diverse. I learn every year new things. It's amazing.
It is, and I told this story a couple of times in a couple of interviews that I've done. My favorite part was probably the parade as well. And when we were like, oh, we're going to this regional town, we thought potentially there'd be some homophobia there, and we didn't know exactly what to expect. But probably the thing that stuck out the most to me was, I remember we were walking past one of the pubs at one stage, and just there was this gentleman, he probably would have been maybe 80 or so, with his beer, sat right up on the fence line of this queer parade. And you just, I think of that generation and how they would not want to be involved, and all the negativity and all the norms that were around when they were growing up. So to have someone like that was, they weren't cheering and clapping and they weren't getting involved, but he was sitting there, he was drinking his beer, and he was just taking in what was happening around him. And for me, I knew that was his way of being supportive. And I just thought that was absolutely phenomenal, because I don't know where else in the world that would happen.
Absolutely. And it's 100% true. You get so many people, and throughout the year, people who you don't know who they are, but you see them around, they come up and say, I'm really looking forward to the Rainbow Weekend. I'm like, oh, would you like to take part? Oh, no, I just like to see it and watch it. And it gives people that level of exposure. We don't see it out here in our community very often. And we don't think it's, the community don't think it's weird. People just think it's fantastic, and they see the color and the happiness, and we're about to go into a huge drought out here in our community, and I can't think of anything better than to give this community a big burst of color. And last year you all came out during the peak of the floods, and I did have a boat on standby ready for Mr. Gay Pride of Australia to make sure they got here. But there's always hard times out here, and the weekend brings nothing but joy. There's nothing unjoyous about what we do and what people come here for. It's you're 100% right, Dan. You nailed it exactly right. It's that. Yeah.
And I think having conversations with people in the queer community. I mean, I spoke to a lesbian girl last year. She said she never went out of her home. She was scared to come out of her home. And then she was out on the fair day and just like, she was like blown away about how supportive everyone was, how great it was to have the festival there, and how that she would now be, integrating into society more, which I think speaks volumes. Like, I've done countless numbers of Sydney gay and lesbian Mardi Gras, Pride games with the Sydney Swans, and I never have heard that that people were afraid to come out of their own house and in their own community. So I suppose I wanted to ask, like, what does this event mean for the LGBTQIA plus community in Hay?
A lot. For me, who's an openly confident gay man, I have a beautiful husband. I live down the street, and I am my true colours here in this town. It means a lot to me because I get to help those who aren't in my shoes, lucky enough to be in my shoes. But there's some really successful stories like that, Dion, that I'd love to share if that's okay with the listeners.
Go for it.
Last year, we had a lot of people come to our town to celebrate the festival, and I didn't know this at the time, and I wish I had, but afterwards I found out about it. And there was a family that came from Leeton. So Leeton's a small community town like ours, and they just had their first Pride Festival this year too, and they did an incredible job. But no Pride Festival being around the region, so the family came out to the Rainbow on the Plains, and their trans child wanted to walk in the parade, and they got here and they got all ready and marshaled up, ready to go, and then they decided they weren't confident enough. It was, they didn't want to march, but the dad said, "Well, I'll march for you." So Dad marched in the parade, and the family met them around a fair day, and the family just came together, and the child sort of said, "I've never been proud of it, my dad, before. You're more than my dad now. You're my best friend." And they still talk about that experience now. So that alone made it all worthwhile. And we also had a child present a week after the festival, who struggled greatly with mental health issues, and they came out and said, "I know what my problem is. I found my community. I think I'm non-binary, and I think I've found people who understand what my challenges are." And that person now, once a fortnight, goes down to Melbourne to that new family they met, and just hangs with them, for a weekend, a fortnight. And I see them around town now, and they are just this happy, glowing person. That they're not openly out as non-binary here, but they're just a new person. Those two reasons are alone a reason why it means so much for regional communities throughout Australia and throughout the world, right? Even not just Hay, because that story's got to happen everywhere. There's got to be kids out there who just haven't got that courage yet, or haven't had that opportunity to see who they are. Everyone's different, but I can see a little bit of me in that person, a little bit of me in that person. Maybe that's whether is going to be who I am, and so that motivators to get out of bed and go do this again this year. And there better be a good story this year, otherwise we're in trouble.
Hopefully we haven't. Well, I did a lot of talking last year with a lot of the locals, so I'll try and do that again this year. But yeah, as you said, like I say it from the bottom of my heart, I mean it. Like the obviously the big Pride festivals that happen in the city centres are great. They're great for visibility. They do a lot for our community. I'm not saying that for a second that doesn't happen, but I just think particularly, my experience last year in Hay, and those two stories you've come up with is exactly what happened in front of us. Like, you could just really feel the impact that it was having on people, particularly on our community. And just how people were feeling more comfortable in themselves and more able to, either explore their sexuality or their gender identity, or just felt more comfortable that, hey, you know what, I can be myself when I walk around this town. It might be a small little town, but it's a very accepting town. So I think it's one of the absolutely beautiful things that comes out of the festival. Probably want to go on there because we've spoken a little bit about sort of helping support people, and I spoke earlier a little bit about mental health. I was shocked last year at the sheer number of mental health organisations that were present during the festival. I think there was still some like bullying and mental health awareness on the Pride Cup Day. There was 3-4 odd organisations that I saw at the fair day. What is it about, regional areas that need this extra mental health support?
Yeah, so the challenge we had, and I thought I would have fixed it by now, but I don't seem to be able to. It's when you're in the bigger cities and the bigger hubs, the services are there for you to sort of rely on when not always available when needed, but they're there. Like you have those incredible ACON services and all those other Beyond Blue and drop-in centres. Out here, because there's not as much visible demand in the numbers, we don't have those services. So if you need some sort of guidance around sexual health, you have to pick up the phone and make that call. You can't sort of go for a walk, think it through, and accidentally walk into a centre and ask that question. There is very little education out here. Our school systems do the best they can, and our teachers are fantastically fabulous and as liberal as they can be. But without that diversity of being able to connect with different people with different services, it's very hard. So it's incredibly important, and we push all year long trying to book them all in to come along to the festival. So at least you can pick up their business card, or you can at least get their phone number and understand when I can call them. We have a bus that we organise to go over to Griffith to get some kids help. But if you needed sort of a condom for sexual health, you have to go buy that at the chemist and get served by your auntie, or or get served by your little brother at the supermarket. So it's a small town challenge. We've got everyone's got the same challenges, mental health problems and sexual health problems, but we've got a smaller number, and to justify a service full time for a smaller number is very hard. And I get the economics of that, but the impact. Hay used to be the suicide capital of Australia about 10 years ago. That's turned around greatly now because, as you talked about, the town, and it's an ally for everyone. Everyone has an ally in this town for some reason or another. You don't have to be gay to be loved. You don't have to be married with 5 kids to be loved. You're just loved in this town because we rally around each other, because we don't always have the services we need. So simple things like homelessness, that we don't have homeless people here in this town because we're all supporting each other and caring for each other. Some people do feel probably alone and at times by themselves. And that's where we need to know that people can go to those services, and having them at our festival, having the people the opportunity to learn what does Beyond Blue do versus what ACON can do for me versus what Men's Link can do for me. So then they know where to go. We have our local Aboriginal medical centre here who does a lot of mental health work. Jean, she works very hard and tirelessly with youth. We have the youth task force, and that has just made such a difference to the youth here. And we have a local mental health organisation called CASE, and CASE do a lot of community work and a lot of train the trainers. So train us how to start that conversation, how to support people, and know where to send them. So that's why they all come out here, and we really want them to keep coming out to us. They may only talk to 2 people, but those 2 people really needed to talk to them. Where if you go to a day at a big hub, you probably talk to a lot of people and they'll grab the free squishy ball and the water bottle and move on. But we don't get to have that conversation very often. So it's so important. I'm glad that you picked up on that they're out here, because they do come out. We just need more, always need more of them and more often.
I wanted to, and this probably ties into this whole mental health piece, is just touch on this year's theme is titanium. And that came out basically, I think the day after last year's, or the 2022 festival wrapped up. Can you tell me a little bit more about, what was the reasoning behind titanium and what that means?
Sure. So last year was freedom, and a lot of people thought that was about COVID, but it wasn't about COVID. It was about the freedom of living out here in our community. Like, you have so much freedom out here because there's so much space. If you're not sure what Hay looks like, Google Hay Plains and see what it is. It's incredible. There's so much space and freedom out here. This year we went with titanium, and I got it off. It came to my head from meeting a Dicon bike from Melbourne, and she's now the president down there. Her name's T-Rex. And she talks a lot about being young and having strength and resilience growing up. And I'm like, we all need strength and resilience, right? We all have had it. We've all used it and exercised it, but if it's, getting through high school, or, getting to the point to have the conversation with family, or getting to the point to have the conversation with yourself, and questioning yourself takes strength and resilience. And we really wanted to acknowledge that and celebrate that. Like, you may not have got to that point in your life where you're ready to have that dialogue or that conversation. But if we have a festival celebrating strength and resilience in the queer community, and everyone can see that there's so much success around that, then hopefully we'll empower other people, whether they're young or old or wherever they are in their lives, that you will too find the strength and resilience within the community to be able to find out what you need to do to make yourself well and make yourself know who you truly are. So that's where strength and resilience came from. We've tried to focus a lot on having, which is why I've got Nat and Zoe and non-binary and drag kings as well, is strength and resilience. You don't have to be gay to have that. Like a lot of women and a lot of men, also non-binary people, need that strength and resilience every day. So we want to call it out and own it and celebrate it. And I think it's definitely worthwhile. I've run out ideas for next year. I don't know where we're going to go with next year, but I'm sure they'll come to me through the festival. But yeah, that's what Titanium this year. People thought we're going to get Sia. I really wish we had the money to get Sia. That would have been epic. But yeah, no, that's why we're going with Titanium. And also, it's easy to theme, right? Metal, strength, oil, whatever you want to do.
Correct. And I think that some of the drag queens can probably pick up on that theme and take that all the way. So it'll be great. But I love everything that you do with the festival. I love the town of Hay. Obviously, Mr. Gay Pride Australia came out last year. What did that add to the festival?
That elevated our festival beyond comprehension. So we originally were going to have you all out in 2020, but that little bug changed that idea for us. And we are so glad it did, because it gave us more time to really think about how we want to partner with Mr. Gay Pride Australia. And it paid incredible dividends. We put you in the most weirdest scenarios, and we are forever proud that we did that. We sent you off to the aged care hostel to have morning tea with all our senior citizens, and they still, absolutely promise you, they still talk about that now. They loved that opportunity. Then we chucked in a bus and made you go sit with kids in daycare centres and preschools and play trucks and dolls, and the teachers
piggybacks as well.
Sorry if there was any injuries, there's no liability. So we really tried to diversify what we can get out of you and give our community and those who don't always get the exposure, the understanding, what is a gay man? And there is no one answer. And we sent 8 of the most fabulous gay people in the world into these centres, and came out blooming and blossoming. And I honestly think the contestants also got a lot from our people and our kids and our senior citizens. I remember when we were all marshalling ready for the parade, and the senior citizens rocked up on their bus, and they were all hanging out the window, waving at you or trying to get your attention, screaming because they recognised you. And that alone was incredible. Last couple of weeks ago, we had a volunteer forum. We got all the volunteers together, and I was going through the event, all excitable. This is happening, that's happening, this is happening. And they're like, oh yeah. And I saw Dion and David and Tony from Mr. Gay Pride's coming back, and they just erupted into this cheer, and I couldn't get them to focus. And that's all they really cared about. Honestly, I could have saved a lot of money and just
got us out again.
It's just they got to see what a diversified world the gay population is, without seeing the queer community, which is even more diverse. They got to see also, they understood that when we first talked about Gay Pride coming, they thought, is it a beauty contest? Are they going to be mulling in speedos and doing tanning and talking about world peace? But it's the competition itself. It's such an incredibly smart, intelligent competition. The way it's ran, it's about how these incredible humans giving back to the community, how they contribute to the community. What do you understand about where we've come from, and what are the challenges we're going to face? And if we're not always talking about those and looking at those, then we're never going to get anywhere. And that's what Mr. Gay Pride does. It really pulls all those issues out and puts it at the front of our mind, and doesn't make it a doom and gloom. It makes it a celebration, and it meant the world to us. And to know that you're coming back this year, and hopefully more into the future, it's very exciting, because it makes us feel like we've got a connection outside of, like a lot of people come here, but we've got that connection now outside through Mr. Gay Pride, and it gives us good street cred as well. people think that's pretty cool that we've got Mr. Gay Pride in our family. So,
Well,
yeah.
I definitely think from a contestant perspective, and then obviously I've got a very much deeper relationship now, having a one in Hay. But the weekend there was absolutely phenomenal for all of us. I think it just really reiterated to each of us why we're doing the work that we are doing, particularly when we got to connect with people in the community and have some really deep conversations with people that perhaps that we hadn't had before. So I just can't thank you guys enough for hosting us last year. I'm really excited to go back. We are going to chuck all of the links, your socials in the show notes so people can get involved. Will, I reckon that wraps it up for today. Is there anything else that you wanted to say at all?
No, thank you so much. And I just want to say big congrats on behalf of the Hay community, who are all very, very, very proud of you for being the third best gay in the world, but becoming second runner-up in the gay world. Our whole community was on board and we were all cheering you on from afar. And I'm sure you almost heard us because you know how loud Hay people are. So we are extremely proud of you and we cannot wait to celebrate that achievement that you've done, not only for Hay or for the gay community, but for Australia. Well done. Very proud of you. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to have some celebratory drinks when we hit that road for Hay in a couple of weeks' time. Will, I thank you for your time and can't wait to see you in person very soon.
Thanks, Dan. Bye all.
So there you have it, fam. An action-packed festival that is going to happen in Hay. If you want to get yourselves down there, it's not far from Sydney or Melbourne, a little bit of a drive. You will have an absolute amazing time. If you want to find out more about the festival, we'll put the website and also the Instagram in the show notes so you can get involved. You will not be disappointed. It is an amazing festival run by some amazing local people. Team, that is all we have time for this week. As always, thank you for listening. If you can, give us a rate and review. Would love to hear from you of what you're thinking of these episodes. But please give us some 5-star reviews. Let us know what you think, and we will catch you next time.